Welcome to Raising Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Barden, and today I have the immense pleasure to welcome Ray Benegas to our podcast. He is the VP of IT as well as the Chief Information Security Officer for the recently rebranded Presbyterian Living here in my state of Illinois, where I also live. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Hi, Amber. Thanks for having me. I didn't know you were here. We should go have a drink. We should go hang out. Let's do that.
Yeah,
Where are you?
I I am. I'm in the great state of Illinois, unfortunately, for now.
Unfortunately for now. Okay, well,
Yes.
you
As soon
get
as my
you.
kids are done with school, I will be moving, but
Oh,
that's way still.
that's
So,
another conversation.
yes. Anyways, Ray, I love that we met at a conference and you were presenting, you had just finished presenting, and I was about to start presenting.
Hmm.
And I walked in and you just started talking to me like I was your best friend. I was like, what is this guy? And I feel like ever since then, I just felt like so comfortable talking to you about what's going on in the industry, what you're seeing, personal stuff. And so I just appreciate the connection that I've made with you. And I'm just really excited to get into this podcast with you because I feel like there's so many things we're aligned on. And it's interesting because you're managing an internal team and across multiple communities. And, we're doing the same thing externally, but we have a lot of the same challenges.
Hmm.
So before I get too far, why don't you just do a brief intro, tell everybody who you are, give everybody the details about you.
Yeah, so I've been here for Presbyterian Living for 3 years, but I've been in the industry for 17 plus. But I've been in IT for, I guess, almost 30 years. So I've been doing this in various industries, but my heart is here, just like you mentioned. I do this for the people and I love meeting people, which can be bad because I do get asked a lot, are you a technology person? Because you're very personable, right? And I don't know if should I be offended or should I be like, yay. I think that this aging services is such a great profession to be in. I mean, I'm in my communities. We have 4 brick and mortar buildings where we provide care here in northern Chicago at Presbyterian Living, and it's just every month I meet with the residents to understand their technology needs as they age, and so I get that direct feedback in addition to our meet with the operations teams. But it's such a great mix to be able to just number one meet the people because that's what I love to do, and then the technology. But I always say sometimes technology gets in the way if you don't have the right partner or if you don't have the right team that actually can help deliver that. And again, we definitely don't deliver technology for technology's sake. It's got to be for either the residents, and we always ask that why. Why are we doing this? And sometimes we don't get included in the projects originally, so then we have to really ask why because we have to catch up. We always have to play catch up. Presbyterian Livings is a 120-year-old organization here again in northern Chicago. We did just do a rebranding and we're creating pathways for vibrant aging, which is really aligns with what we're all about. And we're really trying to keep up with what our residents want and the operations teams. I think over the last 3 years, I've replaced 4 core systems: electronic health record, dining services, finance, payroll. And then we're doing an overhaul of our maintenance and unit turn process that we're getting involved with, which is really interesting. So we definitely try to keep tight with our business leaders to make sure we're providing that value that they're looking for or they need, because we're spending a lot of money on these unit turns and just maintenance things. So that's a little bit about me.
So one thing I love that you said is you mentioned that you're out there talking to residents, you're talking to staff. I visit a lot of different communities and I talk to a lot of internal IT directors, and I'm always amazed by how they never talk to their customers. And that's something that we do. So whenever I go on site to a community, I'm always asking if I can interview residents. I'm meeting with as many people as possible. And it's just so important to have that understanding on the business side. So how do you feel? How do you go about that? Like, what is your cadence for meeting with people? With the residents and with the business leaders across all the different communities you're at. And what would you say are the main benefits you get from that?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I have meetings with the number one, we have every 2 weeks the leadership meets. I have monthly meetings with the residents. And then I meet with the senior leaders across the organization and at the corporate office monthly. So it sounds like a lot of meetings, but some of them are pretty short spin. But anytime, like I think the biggest gift we can give people is our time. And so that seems to be when somebody not needs something, but when somebody wants to have a conversation, or if I can glean a little bit about a project that's coming up, um, I think that's really the benefit. Even our definitely our corporate staff, they'll come and tell me and say, hey, have you heard that we're doing this? Oh, is it in the priorities? Has it been approved? Do I have a budget? And then we'll start asking those questions. But obviously, the benefit is huge. I always say we get a lot of grace because we take care of the customer services number one for me, and along with the technology stability. But we get to know the people and we get to know how they work, and then the organization kind of hums a little bit because we know how we need to work with those specific individuals. Do I need to give them more training? Do I need to be less technical? Do I need to be more technical? Do they need more steps to get it done, or do we just need to automate the whole thing? And obviously, we love to listen to the stories, the user stories, so that we can try to help formulate with them a solution, and not I think we're moving away from here's something, use it. We want to kind of build around what they want, as long as it's as a reasonable request.
Yeah, it's so important. And anybody who's ever heard me present on any topic will be familiar with what I'm about to say next, where I always talk about the technology pyramid. So I think for so long, IT has been, I'm focused on switches, servers, infrastructure, and that's it. And to me, IT is this pyramid. We're at the base layer, that's the base. But then we have the business applications, how we're using them, the processes we're using them, are they integrated, optimized? We have the technology culture and the way people think about technology and how they're integrating it, and then they have innovation at the top. So what you're able to accomplish by going out and talking to all these people is to build that pyramid and to look at all levels of, I don't even like to say IT, I like to just say technology. I went to a project management conference a few years ago, and somebody from Hershey was presenting, and he said, every company today is a technology company. Hershey is a technology company that just happens to make chocolates. And, that's true to some, various degrees, but technology is the backbone running behind everything we do. And it amazes me how often technology is forgotten. So, maybe we can talk a little bit about that because, we have a lot of strategies where we try to find out what's going on in our client communities so we can make sure we're aware rather than being told last minute, oh, there's new construction happening, or, we need to rebrand the organization, something you're going through right now. So,
Hmm.
I'm curious, what are some of the strategies that you deploy to make sure that technology is integrated in the business, and how successful are those?
There's lots of questions in there. I think one of the things we're starting is, um, in the next 2 weeks, we're kicking off an innovation committee, not an IT committee, but an innovation committee, because we see so many vital monitoring carts, right? Wound care. We see lots of, hey, I go to a conference to your point and see some bright and shiny, and let's go do that, and it's great. And if it's, but the questions of why and ROI and compliance and risk and just resident improving resident outcomes and patient outcomes has got to be top of mind, not just because. And so typically we've been just very reactive, and so this committee will be, senior leadership, and they'll be gating these requests. So number one, that'll help. But I also think we're maturing our, right now we've got next year for FY27, which starts in April, we have 69 goals across our collective in our organization. That includes hospitality, clinical, construction, all of them. And to your point, all of them have some sort of IT. There's either their identity or a new piece of software or something they want to look at. And I have five, and I know what I'm doing and when they're scheduled. But we just met with, so to answer the question, we just met with our clinical team and said, what are your FY27 goals? And let's line them up with when we're doing it, because they're different. Or I go through the list and say, you're renovating the dining hall. What are you doing with the food nutrition and the kitchen management system? Oh, well, yeah, we're just moving it. Well, just moving it means something, right? And we're trying to help our teams really plan, help be more planners than anything else. And I think that's different. But number one, to your point, go back to the pyramid and the conversation. If you don't have that relationship, it's hard to go back and say, hey, I don't want to step on your toes, but what are you doing in this event? And is it a small, medium, large project? And this help them. In our last leadership conversation, we had, hey, can we just start talking about how we want to do projects as an organization and how do we use the same words? Is it a work effort? Is it a t-shirt size project? What is it? And what's a charter, right? I think that it's good to have some of these conversations, but if it's going to be a solution, project management, we really do need to formalize not only the innovation team to really help guide and select projects, but also formalize more of a project management office where we can help the whole organization really work through these. So I think a good example would be some of our construction projects that are going great. There's just that, oh, by the way, there's a robot down there. And they just heard about it because the dining team just heard about it and we just heard about it. So there's just, a quick fiery hoop we need to jump through to just get through that.
So one of the things that we do at Parasol, and I'm curious because I think you have a similar tool, so I'm interested to hear how you deploy this, is we write a technology roadmap. So it's a 3-year roadmap. And it doesn't even need to have costs or anything like that, but it's just looking at comprehensive across this tech pyramid. What are all the different components we need to balance with infrastructure replacement, business systems, changes and needs, innovation, security, all these pieces,
Yeah.
governance, operations. And then we take that and align it with budget every year. And then we meet quarterly to execute. So we bring that document up and we show it to our clients and we talk about which projects are we going to pick to execute against the plan. So project management is the execution tool to the strategy. However, things still get missed, like you're saying, like, we every quarterly meeting we have with clients, we ask them, is there anything, any new department changes, any new operational changes, any new construction changes, any vendors that you're changing to try to get them to think about, what to communicate to us that's not on our roadmap. So do you have a similar tool or how do you handle that? And then how do you, I know you're out talking to people, getting their information, but do you have like a formal way for people to tell you what's happening in their departments for you to support? And how does that make it onto your roadmap if you have one?
Yeah, so we definitely have our three-year roadmap, which is due for a refresh. And I think the challenge is, to your point, and I think together we talked a word about technical debt. And I think a lot of times we have so much stuff that we've accumulated, almost like a technical hoarder, where we just have so much stuff. And then we keep adding new stuff because we're innovating, right? We're doing new things, but I'm not connecting, I'm not integrating, and I'm not able to innovate because I've got this weight of technical debt holding me back. And I think for us, the 3-year plan, which the strategy was, let's clean that up. Let's make a focus of getting IT healthy, and then let's do more integrations and connections and trainings. And then along the path, we can certainly do innovation, but let's not jump into AI right now because my data is not ready, and we all know that that's a requirement. And so let's really invest in the training and then the AI and the data structures and the security and the governance so that we're ready to do that. So that's number one, how we do it. I think that's the so-called strategy. I think the tools that we use are really just we use a lot of Microsoft projects and Planner, but it's harder because not all of our leaders, our teams use the same product. Like I've seen a lot of Excel spreadsheets, and I have one that I use to graphically explain what we're doing. And then our construction team has a SaaS product that they use to manage all their construction projects. So they're a little disparate, and I think we need a nice. One of my old companies, we had a nice listing of all of our projects, even if it wasn't ours, and then how much of us was a stakeholder versus the organization. And I think we're just bringing this forward. So I think the innovation committee really needs to help us structure that with a single project list that includes approved, priority, and then timing so that we're able to really execute this with our stakeholders. And it's not just us being a bottleneck. I think right now we've got enough majority projects to take us by ourselves through the year, let alone everybody else's. And I think balancing that, I think we may have to just limit the number of projects we have in order to support the strategy of the organization in addition to our strategy.
So I'm curious, how are you? Because I know this is something you're doing that's new, so maybe you don't have an answer for this yet. But how will you balance innovation against maintenance slash not as sexy projects? You know, innovation is the exciting thing. People want to jump straight into it, but you only have so many resources, both in terms of dollars and time. And if there are other things that need to be done, like, you know, I was on a call with a client where they were talking about AI and they were exploring AI. And I've got someone, you know, from the sales and marketing team saying our phone systems don't even work. Like, why are we investing resources into AI? So how do you anticipate balancing that? And also, follow-up question to that, how do you ensure you have the infrastructure to support the innovation?
Yeah, those are important questions, and I'll start with the last part because our infrastructure has to is a key um, pedestal of support for innovation. And so I think for us, we're still spending time, and we're in the final 6 months of really cleaning up a lot of our technical debt, and then we're also doing that connective tissue of getting our data synchronized so that we're able to do more of that velocity innovation. I think that's it. How do we do it? I think we have a lot of consultants that help us. I think we've budgeted because of the timing and the number of projects we have. We definitely partner with individuals to help us get this done just because we can't do it ourselves. It's just not there's not enough time in the day. And we are the same problem. Our phone system, why are we, let's get rid of that and let's modernize. So I use the word modernize a lot. So we're modernizing our infrastructure, we're modernizing our on-premise file storage, we're modernizing our phone system, we're modernizing how we do workstation builds, we're modernizing, right? Cloud migrations strategy, everybody's doing that, but we're finalizing that now. So we're modernizing our data and and then we're modernizing our cybersecurity, right? So we're in this whole modernization phase because it's the IT healthy is almost complete, but we need to really solidify those legs of the stool that support the innovation.
So if you have a situation where you have a C-level person who really wants to move forward with a certain type of innovation, but that doesn't fit into the overall plan and or where you're at with other roadmap items, how will you balance that?
Hmm. Yeah, I think we get those. It's a lot of times when we see that request, we'll ask if it's budgeted. Do they have is there money in the budget for resources? And we'll just either have the vendor potentially participate with us and we'll just provide the data. And then we'll try to get our subject matter experts trained in the new solution so we're able to support it from an organization standpoint. Or we'll just try to defer it. And we've done that with a good example was somebody wants 16 new vital monitoring carts by the end of March. And I think we're gonna just try to schedule that with our teams, but it'll probably be moving into April, end of April, just because of our spinning up of a new 70 unit expansion and renovation at one of our buildings. So we just have to pick the priority and we're going to need the same feet on the street to deploy those. I don't need an external person, and we have some, and these new ones will get in, but they're not going to make that big of an impact until they get come in place with our CNA time back to residents and just efficiencies will gain. So like we will definitely push that back.
Going back to something you said at the beginning of this call, you said you meet with residents on a monthly basis. What are you hearing from residents? What are their technology needs, concerns? You know, are there any types of innovation that residents are excited about that they're talking to you about?
Yeah, I think we have a technical concierge individual that works with our residents specifically, and they're talking to him daily. But when in our meetings, we hear a lot about the nurse call system, which we're looking to replace this year, or enhance, modernize. There we go again. But I also think that they read a lot about AI. I mean, they read a lot about what it can do, what it can't do. Should we be worried about it? We get everything from I've lost my password or what's a good place to put my password. Can you help me get my bank statement? I mean, so we're very trusted with our residents to help them. And then at the same time, we do have some of the age gaps where we have more people that want more streaming services and want more hospitality hoteling like services in the rooms. And I don't have we do provide resident engagement products for them and, mobile reservations and meal ordering and grocery orders and things like that. So that's in place. Some of them don't want to use it, so I still have to provide the phone for them to call in the order. Like Pokemon, I got to catch them all, and I think they really do want to understand when they should be looking at things. But a lot of them just want somebody walked up to me today and asked for iPhone help,
Mm.
and I sent them to the service desk. But at the same time, it was one of our staff that was running into that. But they have that all the time. I think hearing impairment, we're showing them the meta glasses and the glasses that do dictation because of some of the ability limitations they may have. And so we're trying to engage with them, and we're showing them and giving them. One of the things we do is kind of a show and tell. We bring vendors in and have them do a presentation to our residents, and then the vendors get feedback, like they get instant feedback on would you use this. And so I think the other thing that they really want is just clearly they want uh, hospitality services do it 24/7. They want, as I mentioned, mature streaming services. We have two large entertainment venues, a chapel, and then a large venue where we bring live either church services and live performances. And everybody does this, but we're currently using Comcast as our ingestion method to deliver that. And that's going away from Comcast. So we have to deliver a streaming service. So now we're turning into a little Netflix type of service where we're testing out streaming television services to smart TVs for in-house delivered content. And that's another big one that they're asking for.
Yeah, I'm curious. Maybe we can do another podcast about that because every site I go to, TV is such a huge issue and no one likes their TV provider. And when we're working with clients on new construction, I'm recommending to them that they move just to streaming because of the challenges with the cable companies and maintaining and managing those, which streaming has its own set of challenges, right? Because the
Yeah,
residents have to know how to manage the streaming, and then you have to subscribe to different services, and then the channel inserts from the resident engagement apps don't
right,
always work on
right.
those.
100%.
So yeah, maybe we can do another
And that's
podcast.
an
Actually,
that's an interesting
yeah.
one. Yeah, and we're doing a lot of just ancillary. We're talking a lot of vendor centrics and Uniguest and looking at different ways to deliver it. So I'd love to hear what you're hearing, just because it's our situation is per campus problem where we have to deliver that content in a different way. And then they always want to record, right? They want the Netflix experience where they can pick and choose what they're watching. And so we're not quite that there yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, we will be doing another podcast on that, so maybe we'll have you back on for that. Okay, so back to this podcast. When I was saying earlier the technology pyramid, and I mentioned that, there's the word IT versus technology. And I think what you and I both have is a philosophy of technology and technology culture and building that. So, what advice would you give to anybody listening to this that wants to move from like an IT focus to this technology more all-encompassing focus?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what you said, and we all need to realize that we really do treat IT like our electric company, right? It's utility, you turn it on and it just works. And the unfortunate part is it needs to work. And the electricity is connected to everything. And unfortunately, IT is now too. And if we think, like we mentioned Netflix earlier, it's in Netflix, and where there's technology there, remembering your choices and all of the network and infrastructure that has to work in order to get to a different place. I think it's kind of, in my mind, it's exactly the same thing of you got to make sure your IT is healthy so that you're able to make these agile moves into AI and agentic AI and you hear these words, but I can't do it if my data is not there. Well, I have, right? I have Microsoft 365 and I have Copilot. Yeah, but do you have a policy and are you ready to use it? And is the governance there like we talked about earlier? So there's always something. And I think we have to be able to make sure the core is safe so that we can safely expand into innovation without always having to go back and clean it up or back and secure it. And I think that that's part of the, to your point, the pyramid is what I have healthy? Is it connected? Is it integrated? Is it easy to get data out or not? Am I prepared to, what are my priorities that I need to use this data for? Because it's just data. How do I get from or away from data rich to in information poor and flip it? I need to be rich in my information and educate my organization on what they now they have all this data. What can they do with it? And I think we're running into that because we've replaced so many systems, and now we need to really start getting that rich information out for those decisions and innovations. Because now what's not optimized, right? I think that that's part of it is kind of crawl, walk, run. Am I there? Can I get up and start walking? And where can I run and when should I? Because just like anything, you might fall down pretty hard.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. This is exactly what we always talk about as well. So we're on the same page. There's like I said earlier, there's so much exciting new stuff out there that people want to jump right into. But you and I have both seen that if you don't prepare for it and think it through, it's going to fail. And then people just end up frustrated because they're excited about it. They're told it's coming, especially if it involves residents. And then when it doesn't work because they haven't done the proper background research, making sure the infrastructure, making sure you understand the use case, making sure your data is where it needs to be, then it just ends up being frustrating. And that can negatively impact your technology culture.
Yeah, I think that's such a great example for me is we have this beautiful brand new vital monitoring cart. I just replied they want to do some of them and 16 of them in a bulk purchase. Great. We weren't necessarily involved in this. So now we're wondering, okay, what's security look like? How do the CNAs log in? Is there a PIN? We don't allow shared credentials. So what do you do? And so it's good to ask those questions. So now we're taking a pause and we're asking those questions and understand what that governance needs to look like and reporting and how who's going to own that. But as you have as the device is a great solution, it's just the nuances around, like I just said, technology's everywhere. Oh, we forgot about identities. We don't how are we going to do that? Well, let's revisit this together. And if you
Yeah,
could do it up front, right?
yeah,
Let's catch it
yeah.
first.
And what's frustrating is when that situation happens, sometimes IT is blamed as holding back the organization. Or when it doesn't work, IT is blamed, which is why I think it's so important to have that roadmap and that partnership that we talked about at the beginning, so that everybody's moving forward at the same time. So then there isn't this like push and pull with, well, it doesn't work, it's IT's fault, or IT won't let us do this, or whatever. So that you're all aligned together as you move forward with new projects.
Yeah, I think for such a great comment because I want to know what everybody's priorities are. And it's because I'm a customer service IT person, but it's also so that I can have the resources aligned to help you make that decision. And sometimes I think what I'm hearing too is just the timing of some of these are short spin work efforts. They don't consider it a longer project. And so they just kind of get a vendor in and do some demos and we do things. And it's again to go back to being more planny. Let's be a little more planny about this. Let's be a little more inclusive, not just, oh, hey, I'm in a meeting, can you come up? And I think that that's where this innovation committee with more of a PMO planning type of structure will really help us. Because then it's not me saying no, it's the innovation team with the PMO up there saying we don't have the resources to help you, or you don't have all the requirements met.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got my PMP certification in 2011, and I got my master's degree in project management before that. So I have been preaching project management in senior living for years and years. And it's one of the reasons why we just include project management
Yeah.
services in our rate contract, because if you try to sell it to senior living communities, they say, oh, we don't need that. We don't need that. But when it's included and you do it and people see how effective it is for execution, it's really powerful. So, I think it's really great you guys are moving in that direction. I think it'll be really helpful to your organization.
I was going to comment on that because I think what we found is as we send a business analyst to meet with somebody that has a new project, that's a little bit of a newer experience because we're not just buying the thing, securing the thing, and deploying the thing. We're meeting with the customer to say, how are you going to use it? Tell me the use cases, right? Let's create sort of a light charter. Let's just kind of agree this is what we're going to do, and this is the scope of work. This is what we're going to do for you, and when. And but just that interaction to go back to have to have the interaction with our customers so that we know, and my executive team, our residents, and our operations team, so that we understand how they're going to use this or not. And then otherwise, we're going to build something that's purple and they want it blue. And I think that that's where we really are trying to get, and the feedback has been really good. Like they're surprised. Oh, I really like that process. Can we do what we did there? Yeah, let's do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Can I have it by Friday? No.
Yeah, that's another conversation. Yeah, and I understand like people do get frustrated sometimes because they see that as slowing down the project. But how many times have you made the wrong decision when you're rushing things and then you go back and have to replace it, a year later or something like that? Because I've seen that situation many times. So I just always think it's worth taking the time to, before you go out and commit to an investment, time, dollars, because again, as we talked about earlier, failed projects can have a, ongoing effect where people have this perception that every time they put something in, it doesn't work, and now we're frustrated. Now we don't want any new things, and so it's worth it to take that time to understand the requirements up front, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we started down the path of our replacing our food nutrition and our dining service and our kitchen management service product, and there were multiple people running it, and we started deploying it, and I quickly said, this is we need to do a little time out here. Let's stop after this and do a little lessons learned, but also like we could just feel that it wasn't 100% ready for our teams, and we delayed it, I think, by 5 months just because we needed to do, get more of the integrations ready, get more of the training ready, get more of our team involved, as it involved more clinical food and food nutrition and access to the system and more training for residents. And then we matured that process, and then we got really good at it and deployed it, to the rest of the organization within 3 months. So I think that initial planning was just a little rushed a little bit, and I think we need to take that, have that voice of, let's not do this everywhere right now, because you could see the gaps that were in the plan. We
Yeah,
missed that
sometimes
up
it's okay
front.
for projects to fail.
Yeah, I think as long as we fail fast, right? I think in my head, as much as people think that's a failure, I think it's a great, we always have to learn from these things. And I tell the team all the time, my team all the time, and in my past is, it's okay. This is how we learn, but let's fail fast. Let's have a plan B. Let's understand how we're going to get up and repair this. But, don't, uh, don't beat ourselves up over it, but let's get up and move forward as long as we left it better than we found it. Let's keep going.
Excellent. Well, Ray, it's a joy as always to talk to you. It's always such a pleasure, and I always learn something in speaking to you. If people want to find you, where can they reach out?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so reach out. Anybody wants to connect on LinkedIn, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you so much for coming on. So good to see you again today.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
You can find us online at raisingtechpodcast.com, where you can see all of our episodes and contact us to provide feedback or submit an episode idea. We are on social media everywhere at Raising Tech Podcast. If you enjoy Raising Tech, please leave us a review and share with a friend. Music is an original production by Tim Riesig, one of our very own Parasol Alliance employees. As always, thank you for listening.